Number 2, it's about minds. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 9, the Bible says, "For we know in part, we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away with." When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put childish things away. For now, we see through the glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as I am also known. This is Paul speaking to the church in Corinth, reminding them that even our knowledge, what we know, is limited. Our giftings, whether spiritual giftings in prophecy or natural gifts or skills that we have learned, they are limited. The mind is like a muscle. We can expand it, but it has a capacity. There's a place it reaches and it is full capacity. You can't expand it beyond it. Our skills, our giftings, you know, we can expand them, we can work on them, we can improve, we can develop them. But I'm here to remind us that as much as they have the image, they have the dust, they have a capacity, they can reach full potential. And it is wisdom to know when you are approaching full potential so that you slow down and stop. Why? Because in this world, there will be more people who are gifted than you. You will always find people who are more intelligent than you. So don't compare yourself, because comparison just eats away your joy. There will be people who are more successful than you. There will be people who have families which are doing better than your family. And that is life, and we need to accept it. Be inspired by the success of other people, but don't be defeated by the success of other people. Here I mean that sometimes we look at how people are making money, how people are building, how people are expanding, how people are getting jobs and promotions, and instead of getting inspired by their success, we get defeated. You find people saying, "Oh, you know, some of us, we are not as good as so and so. You know, some of us, we don't have those opportunities." And then you coil. Instead of, you know, saying, "Wow, if other people can make it, I can also make it. If God can bless other people, I also can be blessed." You find that other people start faking it because you don't want to be left behind. Oh, what will people say? That, you know, others will ask you, which Europe did you go to, or which America did you go to? And then now you start also, you know, faking it through pictures, impressions. You know, I've had stories of people who move away from their homes. They go to Europe or US or, you know, Middle East, wherever money is found, or they move to South Africa, or they move to the big cities if they're from the rural. And then they work very hard, they get money, and now when they go back to the village, or when they go back home, back to their countries, my friend, they want to fake it. That time they don't go to any restaurants around. You know, they go to the top restaurants because they want to show their families and people around them that, you know, I'm from America, you know, I am from Europe, I am from Nairobi, I'm from the capital, you know, I am from South Africa, I have made it. They say, just order anything that you want. And they use a lot of money. And unfortunately, when they come back, they are into debt. Then they start working again, and they are in the business of impressing. They are living beyond their means because They want to fake it and impress. Let us accept that we are limited. And the worst is where the success of other people can cause us to be jealous. We start having a bad feeling about somebody when they're sharing about how God has helped them, the success they have, and the opportunities that they have. Then you feel some heat, you know. When I was preparing this message, I was reflecting in my own language, the Kisii language, how they translate the word jealousy. It's funny. It's if I can do a direct translation, it simply means, a black stomach, something like, like your stomach turns black because now you see how other people are succeeding. My message to us is we are limited. Our giftings are limited. Our money is limited. Our success is limited. How we climb the ladder is limited. Move at your own pace. Don't, some of us are early bloomers. We got jobs early. We established early. We got families early. And we are doing early. When we turn 30, we are rich and famous, and we look like we have got it all. But that's not the whole story, Some of us are late bloomers. Life starts at 40. Maybe that's when we are getting families. So don't give up. That's when maybe we are getting jobs. That's when maybe things are starting to show up. Some of us will even bloom at 50. Some of us will even bloom at 70. Who said? 70-olds and 80-olds will not be, the ones, doing great things. I usually give an example of my dad. He is in his 70s, but, the kind of life he lives today at his 70s, sometimes I envy him. He looks like he's achieving more in his 70s than the years past. And we never know how God has planned it. So don't compare yourself with somebody else. It will eat your joy away. Move at the pace that God has given you. Accept our personalities and our emotional wirings. Some of us are introverts. Some of us are extroverts. Admit that even the best version of you cannot do it all. Admit that, some people have more capacity than you to relate to more people. So don't say, me, I sit here, I see people make friends. Me, I don't know how to make friends. I don't even have friends. I'm just like this. No, accept that people have more capacity to make friends. Some people have more capacity to work more hours. So don't start competing with people. Some people are built up and wired in a way that, they can work even 20 hours and they don't feel anything. But you try 7 hours, you feel like your mind is blowing up. Just accept. Some people are wired in a way that they can carry more responsibility. They can juggle, from raising a family to doing 3 jobs, and they are in meetings, they are leading so many organizations, and they have so many businesses, and you wonder, if you try to copy them, my friend, you will break down. Just accept that we are wired differently. Accept that some people are wired to handle more stress than you. So don't accept these people who come to you and tell you, no, you're becoming lazy. Don't be just, too soft. You need to harden up. Tell them, no, stop. Give me a break. I am not like you. Some of us are our personality and our emotions are wired in a way that we can take a certain portion. So we need to reach a place where you know your limits and you accept them. Then, because of time, quickly, we need to accept that our families and our socioeconomic origins are different. No one of us starts on a clean plate or a clean slate, Some of us, start life in a very funny place. We start limping. Some of us were raised with wounded parents. And that's how we started life. Some of us started life with absent fathers, both physically or emotionally or whichever way, or even wounded mothers, absent mothers. Some of us started with no faith in our family. We were never raised up where we were encouraged to love God or to be close to God. So this spirituality thing, sometimes you wonder, like, people are pushing me too much. Maybe they were raised in Sunday school. They are used to these things. They know how to connect to God. Yes, we are different. Some of us, we are raised with families with generational poverty. Maybe you are the first person in your family to own a car, or even to know how to drive, or even to go to a secondary school, or even to have a proper, professional job. We need to accept, while others are starting in the opposite. Some of us are starting from, generational wealth, where you are coming in and everything is set for you. Just, you start the work. We need to know that our families, our socioeconomic origins are limited. You cannot compete with people who have had generational wealth for decades. And then you want to, within your life, within 10 or 20 years of having a job or living abroad, you want to match them. You want to live their lifestyle. No. Accept that we come from limited origins. Some of the things, that we are dealing with in our families are generational. They were built, over centuries. You can't undo them in your lifetime, my friend. Some of the family things hanging on you, all you need to do is to do your part, break from those generational things which are holding you, but you may never break complete. You may never save the whole of your family completely. You may never, uplift your family from poverty. Everybody, maybe you can uplift some and do your part and walk away and maybe give a platform to your children and some members of your family so that they can do their part, and over time, maybe the family can be delivered. We need to know our limits. This is my message today. Those of us who live here in Norway, and we are parenting, our children are born here. We need to know that, we are raised differently, and we are raising children in a new context, a different culture, in a new generation, and we need to accept that we are limited. The way we were raised up, how we were disciplined, how things were done is totally different. And sometimes you feel like I'm a failure as a parent, especially in this country. You feel like, what kind of children am I raising? Why did I even have children? I'm losing it. Just accept that you are limited in one way. Our seasons of life are limited. There is time for everything. There is season for every activity under the heavens, the Bible tells us. We are limited. Some of us are in a season of struggling. Some of us are in a season of abundance. Some of us are in a season of laying foundations. You're using a lot of time, a lot of money, and there is nothing to show for it because it's sinking down. Accept it. A time will come when the building will go up and everybody passing will turn around and say, hey, men are doing something here, or women are really doing something here. So don't compete with those who are already in the season of, putting the roof. Maybe you are in a certain season, and you need to know that seasons limit us. Like today, we were supposed to go out after this online meeting, go and meet in the park and grill and have food and swim and have a nice time. But the rain has limited us. So we have to accept that, even natural forces can limit us. So we need to accept seasons of our lives. And then lastly, God's call on our lives can be limited. There is a funny story as I finish. In the book of John, chapter 21, after Jesus has resurrected, he has restored his disciples, especially Peter, and now he spent with them around 40 days after resurrection before he ascended to heaven. One time, if you remember the time that he was restoring Peter and asking Peter, Peter, do you love me? Take care of my sheep. Peter, do you love? 3 times. And Peter said, yes, yes. And in a sense, Peter was feeling, now God has restored me. Jesus has given me responsibility, to take care of the church. And then John, if you remember John, the disciple of Jesus, the one that Jesus loved, was following. And then kind of Peter got jealous. And he asked this question, what about him? I've been thinking about this question. Why did Peter ask this question? Because Peter knew the relationship between John and Jesus. Actually, John was closer to Jesus than Peter was, although Peter was in the inner circle. But it's John who used to sit next to Jesus. And somehow Peter was feeling maybe jealous or feeling, I don't know. He was like, okay, you're giving me these responsibilities, but maybe it could have been Pete, it could have been John. Now, what about him? And then Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me. In essence, Jesus was telling Peter here that follow me. My calling on your life and the calling on John can be different. Your point is to follow me. Don't compete with the callings of other people. Maybe they can preach better than me, they can sing better than me, they can do things better than me, even churches. Sometimes we are tempted to start comparing ourselves with other churches and say, oh, the other church is growing faster, they have more people, they have better music, they are doing better than us. And Jesus was rebuking Peter and telling him, what is that to you? You follow me. Your call is limited. Keep to the calling that God has called you and keep that path and do it. So in essence, what am I trying to say, even as a summarize, is that when you are caught up in this super busy life, that you don't have time for yourself, you don't have time for family, you don't even have, the worst of it, you don't have time for God, you're cutting God out of your calendar, you need to go back to the manual, to Genesis, and realize that God created you with image, with divine capacity, but at the same time, God created you through dust. You are biodegradable, you are limited, and all of us are limited in different ways. So what should we do? We should be very careful how we live. We come back to the book of Ephesians chapter 5. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Life is a series of choices. Every yes is 1,000 no's, and every no is 1,000 yes. Every activity we give time to is 1,000 other activities that we are cutting out. What if on your deathbed, you realize painfully that in all the hurry and business of life, you missed the most important things of life. You missed to watch your child grow up. You accumulated money and accelerated your career, but you ended your marriage. You got your children the dreams of their lives, but you never got time to teach them the way of Jesus. You got a lot of money, but never grew rich in other things that matter, like spending time with people. You watched all the 5 seasons and the 90, episodes of the Prison Break, but you never learned to love prayer and scripture and reading the word of God and Bible study, because these ones take time. You took your children to every football, every handball, every dancing, every piano lessons, every activity that was around you, but you never took them where they can learn about God. If this is our situation, we need to slow down. We need to simplify our lives and live deliberately in the middle of the chaos and the noise and the fast-paced and digital world that we call home. We need to ask the Lord, teach us to number our days so that we may gain wisdom. Psalms chapter 90, verse 12. Simply simplify your life and focus on the most important. That's my sharing for today. We'll continue next week on looking at the second part of the practical